unpack this. With this first slide, we have this story. And there's two relationships we're talking about. There's a king and this one servant and a debt of 10,000 talents. And then we have another relationship where we have this same servant and another guy, and there's a debt of 100 denarii. Now, in Jesus' day, right, a denarii was a day's wages. Some people say it's like a silver coin. So 1 denarii equals 1 day's wage. 1 talent equals 6,000 denarii. That's 6,000 days' work, or about 16 and a half years of work. You can see on that second slide the breakdown, how much it would take to transfer denarii to talents. So what would that be? What's the regular wage? And I happen to look it up for 2021. The average daily wage in America is $154.64. Some make more, some make way less, but that's what the average is. And so 1 talent is 6,000 denarii, and 1 denarii would be $154.64. And that means that 1 talent, on our next slide you'll see, is $927,840. Now, this guy owes the king 10,000 talents. Anyone there good at math? Go ahead, put it in the comments if you did it ahead of time. I didn't. I need a calculator. But 10,000 talents equals $9,278,400,000. You can see on that next slide. I want to know how this guy spent it. Listen, I go hard on Amazon, but how did this guy spend $9 billion? And how did he say a servant with being able to spend that much money? It's a crazy amount of money, and of course, that's the whole point. That's what Jesus is getting at. It's why he gives us this crazy number, because he wants to tell his disciples that we all had a debt before God that we would never be able to pay. In fact, by our math, it would take 165,000 years to actually make that much money to pay off that debt. Even though this guy says, just give me a little time, I'll find a way. Isn't that so like male machismo? Like, I'll figure it out. Don't worry. Don't sell my wife. I'll figure out how to pay this off. Not in 165,000 years. That's the length of this debt. That's the deepness of this debt. There's no way this guy is paying back $9 billion. And that's what Jesus is getting at, that we are this guy. That's the debt we owe. This is us. There's no good work. There's no religious deed. There's not enough old ladies that you help across the street to undo the debt that you owe, to pay back the debt that we've incurred. And that's why we need a Savior. Our only hope is the mercy of the King we owe, because there is a debt we cannot pay. It is not possible. It's not good vibes you put out to manifest a better version of yourself, to align your chakras, to bring you to a higher level of understanding so that you can be one. No, you are in debt and deserve to be separated for all eternity. And the Savior shows up and pays the debt that you have zero hope of ever paying. It's forgiveness. And that's why we say God so loved the world. He loved you. He loved me, that he sent his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish in a debtor's jail, but have everlasting life. A debt paid in full by the King of Kings himself. That's forgiveness. That's the illustration that Jesus is trying to lay out for his disciples. So remember that $9 billion. And now let's go over to the other relationship. What is this debt he's owed, right? 100 denarii. 100 denarii, by the same number, 154.64 cents, would make $15,464. You can see on that last slide there. Now listen, this is a significant amount of debt, right? $15,000 is a lot of money. And if you don't think it is, give me $15,000. Because this is not something that you just get rid of. It's not something you just ignore. $15,000 is a lot. If somebody owed you $15,000 and said, I can't pay you back, chances aren't you going, oh, I'll float it. That's fine. I have space in my budget. For most of us, $15,000 would be a life-altering problem, because we're not just in a position where we can ignore $15,000. Jesus is saying the servant was owed a lot of money. And maybe that's the situation you're in, where somebody owes you, where somebody hurt you, where somebody did you wrong, where somebody broke your heart. Maybe somebody treated you poorly, and there's no excuse for that. And you've been hurt. You feel owed. You feel like someone has to make you whole and make you right. And maybe there is a considerable debt between you and someone else. And as long as you stay focused on that perspective of what you're owed, that debt, that $15,000 is going to look like a huge amount. And you are correct, technically. $15,000 is a big amount. But here's the point Jesus is drawing. $15,000 only looks like a lot of money until you compare it to $9,278,400,000. It is still a lot. But in comparison, when there is that perspective of forgiveness, Jesus is not saying that this amount over here is small, that 15,000 doesn't hurt, it's insignificant, it can be easily forgotten. But what God asks us to do is take a step back for a moment, to take a few steps to compare the debt that you are owed and the debt that has been canceled in your life. It's been said this way, that those forgiven much, they'll forgive much. If you've been forgiven of much, you'll forgive much. And the more we look at the amount which the King of the universe forgave us, the more grateful we are, the more eager we will be to let go of what others owe us instead of seeking revenge